we're going to disrupt you because we don't believe that you're doing it good enough in your industry. I think most of you who are watching this and listening to me, they would probably agree with me that we are in an industry, the insurance industry, that is very, very ripe for disruption. It's a very old industry. There is a lot of challenges. It's a low involvement product. So yes, we are in an industry where disruption is needed. And if you look at the number of insurtechs that are out there, you will also see that almost all of the insurtechs, they are out saying, we want to disrupt the insurance industry. We are the new kind of industry standards. But I don't believe that. I don't believe insurtechs, they will disrupt the insurance industry. I do believe, though, that our industry is ripe for disruption. And on the other hand, I don't see incumbents being capable of disrupting the industry either. So what are we going to do? I believe that it is in the intersection, the way that insurtechs and incumbents, they will work together, you will see the disruption of the whole industry. But that's another problem because insurtechs and incumbents are not very good at working together. Actually, they fail most of the times. And that's what we're going to address today. We will address why is it is so difficult for insurtechs and incumbent insurers to work together, and how do we make it work? Because I believe that the true industry disruption comes from the partnership between insurtechs and incumbent insurers. Buckle up and let's get into it. One of the first things that we have to understand is that insurtechs and incumbent insurers, they are operating at very, very different clock frequencies. You're looking at a nimble, fast, agile insurtech that has a very, very high organizational heartbeat or clock frequency. And on the other side, you have the incumbent insurer, which is not moving so fast, who have a lower heartbeat and is not operating at a very high clock frequency. And this is what we have to merge. We have to understand the reasons behind this in order to work with it. So let's take a look at what is it that makes the incumbent's heartbeat relatively slower than the insurtechs. Well, for me, there are at least 3 different areas. There is the organization, the way the company is structured. There is the culture of the company, and of course there is the technology. If we start looking at the reasons for a slower heartbeat, starting from the organizational perspective, then first of all, when you have a company that's been working for a long time and doing things for many, many years, decades in many cases, then you will have a lot of processes that are broken. That means when you're working with broken processes, you have to redo a lot of work. You are not sure about where the responsibility is, what the delivery is, who has to take this further on. And that in itself slows the organization's ways of working. At the same time, you're looking into, because you're having a legacy structure that's been around for a very long time, and you will see that builds up a lot of bureaucracy and a lot of red tape. You have silos that need to approve things, that have to get back and endorse things before you can move on. It goes back to another silo that then have to ask questions. And then you are touching another problem, and that is that most often in large organizations, there is no single project owner. So if you're dealing with a project or an insurtech or a partnership that crosses across many of the silos in an incumbent insurer, then you will also find that there is a handover that takes a lot of time because you don't have a single project owner. Yes, you may have a responsible in one business unit that will be taking care of that specific part of the partnership. But then in turn, that has to be handed over to another project manager in another unit. And since you don't have this single project owner, then it takes a long time and there's a lot of misunderstandings. There's a lot of emails that is not being read and just waiting there for somebody to ask what's happening. These are some of the things that are the organizational reasons that an incumbent insurer is slowing down. You also have the concept of culture. Most incumbent insurers have a proud legacy, have a proud way of doing things, a very, very strong culture on this is how we assess risks, this is how we work with our customers, this is how we work with each other internally in the organization, this is my area, don't touch it. This culture also stops the speed of in organization. Invariably, you will have kingdoms being formed over time saying, this is my area, nobody's going to touch it. And when new things are coming in, they will not be very comfortable with what's happening because it's touching their kingdoms. And you will feel resistance, and they will slow things down in order to safeguard their own areas. Lastly, of course, you have the concept of technology. You have age-old legacy systems. You have core systems that's been tweaked for so many years that you have built up an exceptional amount of technical debt, which also means when you're working with a fast-moving insurtech that needs to connect to your system, you have to do a lot of impact analysis. You have to do a lot of understanding within your system to how can we actually make this work. That will take a lot of time. You have to understand what tweaks did we do last year in this area. So you have to do the impact analysis, and you have to mitigate or work with the technical debt that you've built up over the many years. All this together means that you're working with an insurance company, an incumbent insurer that does not have a very fast clock frequency. It works, of course it does, and in many cases it works very successfully, but it works at its own pace, and that's a very, very different heartbeat than the young insurtechs and the startup companies. And if we look at the reason they are much faster, I guess you can say there are three areas. You have the investors, the people who put money into this, energy and time. You have, yes, the culture, and of course you have the technology. These things, when you're dealing with insurtechs or startup companies in general, are moving much, much faster than compared to old, proud organizations. And of course, there's a reason for this. If you're looking at it from the investor's point of view, well, and I may be a little blunt here, but the investors have been sold a story from the founders of the insurtech or the startup saying, we can do all this, we can disrupt the insurance industry, and we can do it in this short amount of time, and we only need this much money to get there. The investors buy the idea, they believe the business cases, the return on investment, and when you're then starting to work with the incumbents, because of the things we just discussed, things are not moving as fast as you want it. The investors are starting to become nervous or want to see results, which means that the startup has to move even faster. So they have to generate short-term results to see that they can actually deliver on what they promised initially to the investors. When you're working with a startup, a fintech or insurtech, you are working with very highly dedicated people. You're working with people who believe in a mission. That could be disrupt the insurance industry. That could be anything else. They are believing in it. You are a small company. Your chain of command is very, very short, and you get things done immediately. You make decisions. That is part of the culture of a startup. Again, it all adds up to a much, much faster moving company. And at the end of the day, when you're looking at it from a technology perspective, well, insurtechs are technology companies within a special industry, the insurance industry. And of course, when you build something from scratch, something new, you will build it in a modern architecture. You will build it with the right APIs, microservices, and anything. So you are ready at any given time to connect to whoever you want to connect to. It gives you a very fast-moving, nimble organization that all of a sudden have to work against or with the incumbent insurance company. Pairing these two elements together gives us a clash. On one hand, you have the incumbent with long decision-making, with technological challenges, with legal and compliant delays because of all the things we just discussed, and of course, the lack of ownership or responsibility within the organization itself. So I guess if you're going to be a little naughty, you can say that the incumbent insurer are looking at these partnerships and thinking maybe it will happen. On the other hand, you have the fast-moving incumbent companies that need results here and now. They have an immediate need for funding. They have the fast and flexible systems, and they have a culture that is ready to move ahead right now. In other words, they have to make it happen. They can't wait and see. And this is the clash. The organization who think, yeah, this is a good idea and maybe we'll make it happen. And an organization says, this is our lives depending on it. And of course that will clash. So what can we do about it? There are 4 things that you have to consider when you're working with making the partnerships between insurtechs and incumbents work. You have to, of course, find a shared rhythm. You have to find a shared heartbeat where you can work together without going on each other's nerves. And that involves having a focus on the task at hand. It involves having shared targets on what you want to do. It involves a certain degree of pragmatism to get this to work. And of course, at the last thing, you need to have an organizational spotlight, especially from the incumbent insurer, where you have to show to the organization what's going on. From a focus perspective, and I believe many insurtechs, they can do many things and they can do many things great. But if you try and offer everything to an incumbent insurer at once, you will end up offering nothing. I would suggest that you take a look at, for example, the House of Digital Transformation, and together with the incumbent saying, what area is it specifically that we want to focus on in this partnership, in this first step of our journey together? I know it is tempting to do everything at once because you can, but the incumbent insurer cannot follow you as an insurtech. So find one area where it hurts the most or you can help the most in this partnership and say, this is going to be our focus for the first phase of our relationship. Following this, with this focus, you should agree on easy to understand and shared targets. We want to increase customer satisfaction in this channel from X to Y before the end of the year. We want to reduce the turnaround time in this handling of this specific type of claims from 5 minutes to 1 minute within the end of the year. These are very, very tangible targets that you can even put a monetary benefit on. And it is a target that the incumbent can sign up to, and it's a target that the insurtech can sign up to. So now you have a shared target, you have a focus, and you have a shared target, which also, of course, can help you build a business case that you can use to get the partnership investment approved. And at this point, I'm hearing you thinking, yeah, this is the proof of concept, and we've done this many times, but that really didn't work. And that's because I don't necessarily believe in proofs of concept. Proof of concept is a thing that is very, very easy to get through because it doesn't require any commitments. So yeah, we can sign it and start. It takes a long time at the end of the day because it doesn't have the needed attention. You won't even get the results out of it that you expected. So I don't believe necessarily that the proof of concept is the right way forward. You need a little more committing project. It doesn't have to be bigger than the scope of a proof of concept. It just has to be more committing. You have to agree on the mutual targets. You have to agree on a timeline that is realistic and achievable. Don't call it a proof of concept. I think we have a proof of concept fatigue at the moment in the industry. Make it to a real project where you can demonstrate when this is up and running, the partner, the InsureTech, will have delivered what was promised, and the incumbent will actually have the target set achieved, which can be shown and demonstrated. We have a success. And this success, and even the whole partnership, needs to be celebrated. It needs to be highlighted. It needs to be shown in the whole organization, again, to make sure that the teams that are working with this partnership gets the needed support, the needed attention to make it a success. Remember, as I said in the very beginning, it is in the interface between the insurtechs and the incumbents you will see the industry disruption. So this has to work. It must work. And one of the ways of making it work is to celebrate the successes, celebrate the teamwork, highlight that we are doing this, make it public, show the world that you are part of a success. And if you set realistic targets, it will be a success that you can show the world. These are the 4 things that you can do or should do to start the partnership off on the right foot, to make sure that you are capable of delivering what it is that you have to deliver. There's just one more thing I need to tell you, and this is, don't forget or underestimate FOTU, fear of the unknown. When you have these insurtechs who wants to disrupt you, and they come and start working with you as an incumbent, the organization will be worried, what is going on here? Remember, and that may not be the smartest communication strategy, remember that you're now having a partner saying, we're going to disrupt you because we don't believe that you're doing it good enough in your industry. And that partner with the attitude comes to an incumbent insurer who actually been doing very well for many years. And you will have a conflict here saying, what's going on here? And they're claiming that they're going to disrupt everything. Are they going to disrupt my job? Are they going to disrupt my position in the company? Are they going to get me fired? What's going on here? And that will generate a lot of resistance within the incumbent insurer. Do not underestimate this. In my experience, there's a lot of ways that you can, there's a lot of actions you can take to avoid this. You can, of course, communicate what's going on, what's not going on, how this is going to be a smaller project, how it's going to show tangible results, what it's going to focus on, what is the timeline. Make sure that you identify key employees, maybe even the ones who are the most skeptical. Ask them to lead the project, take an active part of it, and use your shared targets between the teams and the InsurTech to show that we have to do this together. If possible, even make it part of some kind of incentive structure. I can strongly recommend this. Don't underestimate the fear of the unknown, and make sure that you embrace it and you accept that people, your organization, will have these reservations towards an InsurTech that claims that everything that you're doing is not good enough and we're going to disrupt it. And then here at the last word, I just have to say one thing. The golden rule of all things change. Communicate. Talk to people. Talk to the organization about everything. You cannot over-communicate if you're talking about things that are relevant. So when these kind of projects are starting, you cannot communicate too much. If you have bad news, communicate them. Do not be silent. You're ruining an organization, a culture, by being silent when people know changes are coming. Communicate, be open about it. If you don't know it, communicate and say, I don't know it, but we need you to do this. We need you to be here. We don't know the future, but we know that we need you. Communicate, be open. I guarantee you, people will feel so much safer in your organization if you do this. This is the golden rule of change management. Thank you very much for listening. I'm certain that you can recognize a lot of the things that I've told you. I'm also hoping that a lot of the things that I told you made sense and that you now have an easy way to start working with the partnerships between incumbents and insurtechs. Good luck in disrupting our industry. Thank you very much.